Good morning, everyone. This is the second lecture for your chapter, Neural Control and Coordination. In the last class, we discussed the basics of your nervous system. We started with the structural and functional unit of nervous system, which is your neuron. We saw the different parts of a neuron, then the classification of neurons. The classification was based on the number of processes and whether it was myelinated or unmyelinated. We also saw the nervous tissue or your neural tissue and what all cells are present inside your neural tissue. There are two main types of cells, one being the main cells or your neurons, and the second type of cells were the supporting cells called neuroglia. We saw different types of neuroglia as well. Today we will be moving ahead and talking about the brain as a whole, okay, as the full structure. So before we can go there, this is a very nice picture, a microscopic picture taken of your brain slice, okay. So here you can see it is a rat brain and the section is taken and it has been photographed. The blue colored blobs that you are able to see are the cell bodies or cyton, okay, all of which means the same. So these blue colored ones are the cell bodies. Then the green colored ones are showing your axons, and the red colored processes or neurites are your dendrites. Fine, so this is how a slice of your brain or your nervous tissue would look like. So today's lecture we shall begin with studying the nervous system as a whole. Okay, we studied the cell, we studied the tissue, now we will study the nervous system and its classification. How do you classify? How do you divide the whole nervous system? Okay, the entire nervous system. So the human nervous system, it is majorly divided into two parts. Clear? So one of those parts is called central nervous system. In short form, you write it as CNS. Okay, CNS means your central nervous system. Just like how in your computer you have CPU, same way, that is your central processing unit. Here you have central nervous system. Okay, so this central nervous system, as shown in the diagram, it is made up of your brain and your spinal cord. Okay, these are the main organs of your nervous system. So they are considered in central nervous system. And apart from that, you have the second type, which is peripheral nervous system. See, wherever you hear the term peripheral, it means in the periphery, okay, in the surrounding. So apart from the brain and the spinal cord, whatever nerves are present, okay, you must have heard of nerves. So all of these nerves which are present, which can go up to all of your organs as shown in this diagram. All of these are included in peripheral nervous system, which is also referred to as PNS. Okay, so CNS and PNS. This is the first level of classification of your human nervous system. Now, peripheral nervous system, in different books it is given a little differently, but it remains the same. Okay, just understand these terms and the rest remains the same. So peripheral nervous system, it is again divided into two parts. One is called autonomic nervous system, ANS, and the other one is called somatic nervous system, SNS. Okay, so you have two, SNS or somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system. Clear? These are types of peripheral nervous system. Now let us see what do they mean. Your autonomic nervous system, remember this term autonomic. How will you remember? Try and remember automatic. Okay, so autonomic nervous system, what is it doing? It is automatically taking care of your internal organs. Okay, you do not have to go to your stomach and tell your stomach to secrete HCl. Okay, or you do not have to go to your intestine to tell the intestine to secrete, let us say, intestinal proteins or enzymes. right? You do not have to go to pancreas to tell the pancreas to release its secretions. Okay, then you do not have to go to your heart to tell it to beat. Then, so similarly, all the smooth muscles, all the involuntary actions, they are taken care of by your autonomic nervous system. It is like that automatic flight mode. Okay, the pilot is not flying the aircraft, but it is still flying in the air. How is that happening? So you have this system which is known as autonomic nervous system. This autonomic nervous system, without your knowledge, what does it do? It communicates with the internal organs and glands. Okay, so it takes care of your internal organs and glands. Okay, all the secretions, all the functions will be taken care of without your knowledge. So that is autonomic nervous system. Then you have somatic nervous system. Somatic nervous system is actually in your control. Okay, like how you are listening to my lecture, or you are writing down notes. So you are giving your brain the command that I want to write, and your hand is performing that command that you start writing. Okay, so this is done with your knowledge. You know that you will be doing this action. Okay, so it comes under somatic nervous system. Also, all the sense organs, that is, let us say if somebody pinches you or you touch something hot, so all of this will be considered under somatic nervous system. Okay, fine. So ANS, autonomic nervous system, somatic nervous system, SNS. Autonomic nervous system is again divided into two parts. One is called sympathetic division, the other one is called parasympathetic division. Sympathetic means it is doing the function of energizing you or waking you up. Okay, getting you ready. Ready for what? Ready for some emergency. Okay, so your sympathetic division or your sympathetic nervous system, it acts when there is some emergency. Clear? It could be any sort of emergency. Let us say there is a dog in front of you. In that scenario also, your sympathetic nervous system will be active. Let us say you have to give an exam and you are nervous. Then this nervousness, it is also coming from sympathetic division. Then let us say you have to go on the stage and you have to speak an essay or address somebody, okay, or your classmates. Then that nervousness comes because of sympathetic nervous system. Okay, so sympathetic nervous system does what? It does the function of arousing. Arousing is to make you awake, to make you aware. What will it do? So some examples I'll give you of sympathetic nervous system. It will increase your heart rate. Your heart will start beating faster. Then it will cause sweating. You will start to sweat. Okay, then it will also cause a little bit increased breathing. Okay, so you will start breathing fast. All of these are coming under sympathetic division. Okay, sympathetic nervous system. This is not in your control just because there is some fear. Okay, you are afraid of something, or because of such situation, emergency situation, your sympathetic nervous system is detecting this emergency, and it will increase your breathing rate, your heart rate, and all of those things. Clear? Now let us say that emergency is no longer present. Okay, you have completed your exam, or you have already given your speech on the stage, or that dog is no longer in front of you. So your heart rate, your breathing rate should come back to normal. This will happen, or this will be taken care of by the parasympathetic nervous system. Okay, it will calm you down. It will slow your system down and bring it back to normal. Clear? So peripheral nervous system has autonomic nervous system. In autonomic nervous system, you can have either automatic increase or automatic decrease. Automatic increase is known as sympathetic nervous system. Okay, it will keep you awake. And then you have parasympathetic nervous system, which will calm you down. Okay, it will soothe you. It will bring you back to normal levels. Coming back to the somatic nervous system, it is divided into two parts. One is called sensory or efferent. Now, how do I remember this efferent? I normally remember it as arrival. Okay, arrival means to come, right? To arrive. Normally at airports, you must have seen this term, arrival. So, to arrive, it starts from A. So, sensory is efferent, okay, arrival type. So, basically, you are getting signals. The signals are arriving from the sensory organs. Clear? It could be taste, it could be temperature, it could be smell, touch, pressure, right? So all of these are sensory inputs. So it is input. From somewhere, some part of your body is sensing this. So it is called sensory nervous system or efferent nervous system, because after sensing, these signals or these impulses will be sent to your brain, to your central nervous system. So it is efferent. Now, after reaching your brain, the action that you take, okay, which is in your control, it is known as motor nervous system. Motor means to move, okay, something that moves. So, motor is actually efferent. See, the difference is only in A and E. So, how do I remember E? I remember it as exit. Okay, how will you remember efferent? You will remember exit. Exit is to leave. So in motor nervous system, the signals are leaving your brain or your spinal cord, and they are going up to the final organ. Let us say you have decided to move your finger. So that signal will be generated in your brain, and then that signal is going away from your brain. Okay, it is going towards your hands. So after reaching towards your hands, this can be called as efferent, okay, nervous system or efferent transmission. Clear? So sensory is from organs to brain, okay. Efferent, arrival. Motor is from brain or spinal cord to the organs. Clear? So it is efferent, it is exit. Clear till here? Nervous system, main two types: central nervous system, peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system is made up of brain and spinal cord. Peripheral nervous system is made up of all of these nerves. Now, peripheral nervous system can be classified on basis of its function into two: autonomic nervous system, which is always going on without your interference, okay. And second one is called somatic nervous system, where you are sensing, receiving, as well as sending out signals. Clear? With your knowledge. Autonomic nervous system again is divided into two parts: sympathetic, which increases your heart rate, increases your breathing, increases sweating; and parasympathetic, which brings you back to normal condition. Somatic nervous system is divided into two parts. One is sensory, where you are receiving signals, and motor, where you are sending out signals. Clear? After understanding the nervous system and its classification, okay, how can you divide the whole nervous system? Let us understand a few important words or terminologies which we shall be using further on, okay? So these terms that are important are gray matter and white matter. Now gray is from the color gray, okay, which is a mixture of black and white, so that gray color. So gray matter and white matter. Gray matter is made up of cell body. Cell body is your cyton or soma, whatever you call, okay, from your neuron. Remember the cell body which has nucleus, okay. So what is gray matter made up of? It is made up of cell body and non-medulated nerve fibers. Just focus on each of these terms, okay. Non-medulated is just another word for unmyelinated. We saw myelinated, unmyelinated yesterday. So non-medulated means unmyelinated. There is no myelin present. Okay. Where is this myelin not present? It is not present on the nerve fibers. Nerve fibers are nothing but they are axons. Clear? So what are we talking about here? Whatever you see gray. Okay, this is a cross section of your spinal cord and this is a cross section of your brain. So this outermost region, which here it is seen in pink color, so that is actually known as gray matter. Okay, and here in the spinal cord, this H-shaped structure is made up of gray matter. So why is it gray? It is gray because it consists of your cell bodies. Okay, your cell bodies will be present in this region, cell bodies of the neurons, as well as non-myelinated or non-medulated fibers or axons can be present here as well. Clear? So that is gray matter. Then you have white matter, this cream colored structures that you are seeing, okay, here in the brain and here in the spinal cord. These cream colored or structures shown in the diagram are actually known as white matter. What are they made up of? They are made up of myelinated nerve fibers. Myelinated is also known as medulated. Clear? So medullary or medulated nerve fibers or myelinated nerve fibers. Again, I told you nerve fiber means axons. Clear? So wherever there is lipid, okay, wherever there is myelin, it gives you a milky white color. Clear? So you can think of it like this. Let me just draw one neuron for you. The neuron head, okay, the cell body will be here outside in the gray matter, and the nerve fiber or the axon will be towards inner side. So wherever there is axon which is myelinated, it gives a white appearance. Okay, so it is called white matter. And wherever there is the cell body, it is known as gray matter because myelin is absent there, and you have a huge nucleus, okay, in the cell body, which gives it this grayish color. Clear? Apart from the cell body, you can also have axons or nerve fibers which are not myelinated. Clear? So these here are myelinated, and you can have non-myelinated fibers also present in the gray matter. I hope now it is clear to you. Now, after understanding the gray matter and white matter, let us see. This is the cross section of your brain, and in brain you can see that gray matter is present outside, okay, on the periphery. Can you see it is present outside in the borders of the brain? And towards inside you have white matter. The opposite is the case for your spinal cord. If you talk about spinal cord, then outside is white in color, and this H or butterfly shaped structure is actually gray in color. Clear? So it is vice versa, it is opposite in case of spinal cord and in case of brain. In brain, gray matter outside, white matter inside. In case of spinal cord, gray matter inside and white matter outside. The simplest way will be to remember this spinal cord, and you will remember the spinal cord with this H shape. So always draw this H shape with a darker color. So you remember that the H shape, okay, the middle portion is actually gray matter and surrounding is white. Now you know that spinal cord is different, okay, exactly opposite from your brain. So you will be easily able to remember that brain has gray matter outside and white matter inside. Clear? This is the original brain slice, okay, and here you can see this gray matter. It is very easily seen here. Clear? And this middle portions are your white matter. Same case with your spinal cord. You can easily see the white matter and the H or butterfly shaped gray matter. Now, 4 more terms that you must remember. These are not directly mentioned everywhere, but it is important to understand these terms so that you will be able to understand what is mentioned, okay, what part or what type of structure they are talking about. So you have something known as nuclei. Now this nuclei is somewhat different from the nucleus of a cell. Okay, what is this nuclei? It is a collection of cell bodies or a group of cell bodies. Okay, let us say you have flowers. Okay, and if you take these flowers like this, you have these flowers, and then you have the stem. Again, you have flowers, and then you have the stem. Clear? So similarly, can you think of the neuron? Neuron is also like that. You have the cell body at the top, and then you have the axon. Clear? So if you just think of this, okay, group of cell bodies, only your flowers, or in our case, the cell bodies, there is a group of cell bodies or a collection of cell bodies, then it is known as nuclei. Okay? In case of CNS, so if it is in brain or spinal cord, you call this collection of cell bodies nuclei. In case of peripheral nervous system, okay, which means your nerves, you call it ganglia. So the same structure, collection of cell bodies, is known as nuclei in CNS, ganglia in PNS. Simple? Nuclei and ganglia. Remember this term ganglia or ganglion because you might be using it multiple times, okay? Even when you study animal classification or when you study different organism nervous system, you will be coming across this term ganglia. Fine? Then a group or collection of axons or nerve fibers is called tract. Okay, so let us just consider this group of axons now at the bottom. This group will be called as tract in case of CNS, okay, again, so in your spinal cord or in your brain, and it will be called as nerve in case of your peripheral nervous system. Clear till here? So just to show you the same thing with a diagram, if you take this is the cross section of your spinal cord. In your spinal cord you have these certain areas, okay, there are some certain regions where there is a group or collection of cell bodies. So these are known as nuclei. The same thing in your peripheral nervous system will be known as ganglion. This is what it looks like. This is the microscopic picture and you can see a lot of nucleus present here. Okay, it is very different from the surrounding tissue. So this whole structure is nuclei in case of CNS and ganglion in case of PNS. Talking about tract and nerve, so in case of your CNS, okay, central nervous system, you call it a tract as shown here. Okay, you can see this yellow colored optic tract, and in case of your peripheral nervous system you call it a nerve. Here, what is a tract or a nerve? It is nothing but a collection of axons. If you take a cross section, this is what it will look like. Okay, it is a cross section of nerve. So these are nothing but your axons. Can you see? Okay, these parallel fiber-like structure are your axons on which Schwann cells are present. So Schwann cells nuclei you can easily see in purple color. So these are the axons. They are myelin sheaths and the Schwann cell. If you look at it from the top, okay, if you take a cross section and if you look at it from the top, let us say if these are the straws from side, then these are the straws from the top. Okay, they will look like this. You can see all the nerve fibers. Nerve fibers are known as axons. This is the zoomed in version. So here in the center you have axon, surrounding which there is myelin sheath. Clear? So these are how tracts or nerves are present. Clear? Group of cell bodies and group of nerve fibers or axons. Now we move ahead to talking about the anatomy of brain. Okay, we will be talking about the structure and the functions of your brain. Brain, which is the part of your central nervous system. So we are starting in detail with central nervous system. We will talk about human brain, then spinal cord, and then we will move ahead to peripheral nervous system, in which we shall talk about the nerves. Clear? So let us begin about the brain. Where is it located? Then the location is inside the cranium. Cranium is your skull. Okay, in vernacular you call it khopdi. So inside your skull, there is a portion, there is a box at the top which is known as cranium. So inside the cranium, human brain is located. Its weight is about 1200 gram to 1400 gram. There are certain protective layers around it. Now, because this brain, it is very important organ, it is controlling all the different systems of your body. So it should be protected, right? Like how the Prime Minister is always protected with Z level of security. Is he not? Right? So same way, your brain also, it is very important part. So it is always protected by many layers. From outside to inside, we shall talk about one after the other. The outermost layer is scalp. You must have heard of scalp. It is the skin, okay, which is present on the top. The skin, the little bit of muscles which are present on the top, then your hair. Okay, these are all protective layers of the brain, the outermost protective layer. After scalp comes the skull. Okay, so this here is the cross section, and here you can see the skull. Okay, it is nothing but a bone. Okay, so it is the brain, it is enclosed in a bone, which is known as skull, or specifically it is known as cranium. After the skull, there are few membranes. Okay, so these membranes, just think of it like a helmet. Helmet has that outermost tough covering. Underneath that tough covering, you have sponge layer, and then you have some cloth layer, right? So same way in your brain also you have skull, and inside the skull there are few layers, okay, cushioning layers. These are called meninges. Meninges is plural, singular is menix, okay, menix. Plural is meninges. The outermost meninges or menix is known as Dura Mater. Okay, so here this outermost layer that you're able to see in white, okay, or this light blue color, that is your Dura Mater. Dura Mater is a very tough and fibrous kind of layer. Clear? It is made up of connective tissue only, but it is tough and it is fibrous. After Dura Mater comes the next layer, which is known as Arachnoid matter. Why is it called Arachnoid? So if you know, then you can say subclass of spiders is known as Arachnoid. Or have you heard of it? I don't know. So Arachnoid, basically wherever you hear the term, it means spiders. Okay, so here if you look at this layer very carefully, it looks like spider web, right? Makdi ka jaal lagta hai. So this arachnoid matter, it looks like a cobweb or the spider's web, and hence it is known as arachnoid. It is web-like. What is this web made out of? It is nothing but collagen fibers. Clear? These are protein fibers called collagen fibers. Clear? So this whole layer is your arachnoid. Finally, the innermost thinnest layer, the white colored layer that you see, is called pia mater. Pia mater is the one which has a lot of capillaries. Okay, it has a lot of blood capillaries. What do these blood capillaries do? They provide your brain with oxygen and glucose. Clear? So these are the layers, protective layers of your brain. Outermost being scalp or your skin and hair. Then comes the skull. After skull, there are three meninges. In the three meninges, outermost is dura. Then comes arachnoid, and the innermost is pia mater. Now there are some spaces between these membranes, okay, between these meninges. Beneath this dura mater, you call it subdural space, and beneath the arachnoid membrane, you call, or meninges, you call it subarachnoid space. Okay, it is a space as you can see here. Okay, can you see this space which is shown in dark maroon color? So this space here is called a subarachnoid space, and which is sub means beneath, and the one beneath the dura mater is called subdural space. What is the function of this subarachnoid space? It has the shock absorber fluid called cerebrospinal fluid. Clear? Cerebrospinal fluid, it is a liquid which will keep the brain protected from the shocks. Clear? So it acts as a shock absorbent. So that shock absorbent fluid, which is called cerebrospinal fluid, is present in the subarachnoid space. That subarachnoid space is the space between pia mater and arachnoid mater. Clear? That is the only space you need to remember. Clear? Chalo. Moving ahead to the parts of the human brain. Remember, before or in the beginning, we will just be talking about the structures of the brain, and then we shall study the different functions of these parts. Okay, so in beginning, we are just talking about the structural parts of the human brain. The main and the what you can say the biggest part is known as forebrain. Fore, when you write Fore, it means forward. Okay, आगे का brain. So that is what is meant by fore. So forebrain, in scientific terms, it is also known as prosencephalon. Wherever you hear the term cephalo, okay, CEPHALO, it means brain. What does pro mean? Pro means first. Okay, सबसे आगे. So prosencephalon means forebrain in scientific terms. Forebrain is made up of three major parts. It is made up of this skin-colored structure that you see called cerebrum. It is made up of this rounded portion that you see called thalamus and hypothalamus. And these are consisting of the part called diencephalon. Okay, so forebrain made up of cerebrum, the skin-colored part, then diencephalon, which is made up of thalamus and hypothalamus, and olfactory lobes. Okay, three parts. These olfactory lobes are not visible in this diagram. Then you have midbrain. Forebrain matlab aage ka brain, midbrain matlab beech wala brain. Okay, midbrain is known as mesencephalon. Wherever you hear this term me, okay, or mesen, it means middle. So midbrain, it is made up of quadrigemina or corpora quadrigemina and peduncles, but that we shall discuss later. Okay, so this red colored portion that you see is your midbrain. Lastly, you have hind brain. Hind, or however you pronounce it, hind, means behind. Okay, it is short form for behind. Fore is short form for forward, and same way hind is short for behind. Behind means piche. So piche ka brain. Okay, hind brain. In scientific terms, it is also known as rhombencephalon. Okay, it is made up of cerebellum, which is this navy blue colored structure that you see. Okay, which in vernacular you call it chota dimag or nanu magaj. Okay, so this here is your cerebellum. Then with cerebellum you have pons, which is this lavender or purple colored structure, and medulla oblongata. Fine, so three parts: cerebellum, pons, and medulla oblongata. These are consisted in hind brain. So main three parts of your human brain: forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. In this lecture, we shall be discussing only the forebrain. Okay, you will understand it one by one. Forebrain is, as I had already discussed, it is made up of olfactory lobes. It is made up of cerebrum and your diencephalon. We shall start with olfactory lobes. So this is a cross section of a human face, and you can see here is your brain, and This yellow colored part is your olfactory lobe. Okay. Now this olfactory lobes, as you can see S, okay, so there is a pair. Olfactory lobes, they are short, club shaped. Club matlab, uh, have you seen what do you call it, bat like structure, okay, baseball bat. So that baseball bat is also known as club. In Gujarati you call it dhoko. So that club, okay, Ivadu club. So short clubs shaped paired lobes are present here on the anterior side. Anterior matlab aage ki taraf, okay, in the front. So can you see this is in the front, okay, this is very close to your face. You find these olfactory lobes. Olfactory lobes, when you look at it from the top, this is the side view. If somebody is looking from the side, if you look from the top, then you will not be able to see the olfactory lobes at all. Why? Because they are covered by your brain. Can you see? They are covered by your brain, so you cannot look at the olfactory lobes. What if you look from the bottom? If you look from the bottom, then they look like this. Okay, so this is the bottom of your brain, and these yellow colored structures are your olfactory lobes. Can you see? They are in a pair. Clear? The anterior portion, okay, उसमें भी आगे का जो portion है, this swollen portion, that is called olfactory bulb, and the portion behind it is called olfactory tract. Now this is your homework. I just taught you what tract means, so find out or write it down, okay, what olfactory tract could be made up of. Clear? They are covered by cerebrum, that is what I told you, okay, you cannot see. If you try and look, then from the top you will not be able to see it because they are covered by these cerebrum. What is their function? The function of olfactory lobes is to sense smell. Okay, so sense of smell is also known as olfaction. Remember this word. So olfaction or sense of smell is the function of olfactory lobes. Here, as you can see here, this is your nose, and they have nerve endings in your nose. So whatever you smell will be detected here and be sent to your brain. After olfactory lobes, the second part of your forebrain is called cerebrum. Cerebrum or cerebral hemispheres. It is the largest part of your brain. It consists of left and right cerebral hemisphere. Okay, hemisphere matlab half spherical structures. Okay, this can be your right cerebral hemisphere. This is your left cerebral hemisphere. These both hemispheres, they are connected by these fibers called corpus callosum. Okay, this structure that you see here. Normally this is very hidden. From the top you will not be able to see corpus callosum. But for this diagram, for this photograph, the cerebral hemispheres have been pulled apart. So you can see easily there is this structure known as corpus callosum. Corpus callosum connects the left brain and the right brain, okay, or the left cerebral hemisphere and the right cerebral hemisphere. That is why you must have heard that if you want to use your right hand, then your left hand makes the decision, and if your right brain or right cerebral hemisphere makes a decision, your left hand will move. Okay, that is because of this corpus callosum. This is what the corpus callosum looks like in 3D, the red colored portion that you see in between the two cerebral hemispheres, this red, okay, that is your corpus callosum. Now we are still discussing cerebrum because it is the biggest part. The outermost layer, okay, this outermost layer of your cerebral hemisphere is called cerebral cortex. Clear? Just like your kidneys, you must have heard of renal cortex. In adrenal glands, you must have heard of adrenal cortex. Same way, in your cerebrum, which are these, okay, this is your right hemisphere, this is your left hemisphere. So you have the outermost part, okay, which is this gray matter called cerebral cortex. Okay, this gray matter is cerebral cortex. It is greatly folded. Your brain, it has a lot of folds, and these folds increase the surface area. Okay, that is why these are present. So they are greatly folded into gyri and sulci, or you can call it gyri or sulci. Let me explain to you what are gyri. So this structure that you see, okay, which is coming out, let me just highlight it. This structure, you can call it a gyri. Then this structure is a gyri, okay. So whatever is coming out, whichever part is swollen, is called gyri, okay, mountain-like structure. Then the part which are going inside, can you see there are these parts which are going inside? These are known as sulci. Clear? So gyri are the parts which come out, sulci are the parts which go in. Clear? They are the sort of cracks. So these cracks, you call them as sulci. Sulci is plural, sulcus is singular, gyri is plural, gyrus is singular. Clear till here? So your brain, your cerebrum, it is greatly folded into gyri and sulci. Beneath the gray matter of your cerebral cortex, you have medullated nerve fiber forming the white matter. Okay, so beneath this cerebral cortex, you have the white matter, okay, which is made up of medullated or myelinated axons, which are also known as nerve fibers. Each cerebral hemisphere, now we're talking about just one of these parts. Can you see there are two parts, right? So this here is the middle line. This is one hemisphere. This is another hemisphere. So each hemisphere is made up of a frontal, parietal, temporal, and occipital lobes. 4 lobes. Clear? Let us understand each of these 4 lobes, how they are divided. So look at this bottom diagram, okay? Here, this is your brain, left hemisphere, right hemisphere. The middlemost crack, okay, is known as longitudinal fissure. You must have heard of latitude and longitude. So longitude, it comes from the word long, okay. So this longitudinal fissure or crack, it separates your left brain from the right brain. Here, so the first and foremost thing is longitudinal fissure. Now let us understand each of these hemispheres, okay. So here, this diagram, focus on this diagram. Just a minute, okay. Now in this brain, you have one central sulcus. Sulcus, I told you, is a singular form of sulci. Clear? So it is a great fold, okay. It is known as central sulcus. Why is it central? Because you can see it is approximately in center of your brain, okay, of your hemisphere. So it is known as central sulcus. This here, okay, is your central sulcus. Central sulcus divides the cerebral hemisphere into the frontal lobe, which is shown here in blue, and the parietal lobe, which is shown in green. Then you have a lateral fissure. Lateral means from side, okay, you can see it above your ear. So this lateral fissure is also known as Sylvian fissure. It divides the temporal lobe. If you have anywhere read in English, then the part where you say that your head is aching and you press above your eyes and between your eye and your ear, so that part is actually your temple. So from that temple comes the word temporal. Yeah. So this whole structure is your temporal lobe. Temporal lobe is separated by lateral fissure. And then finally, there is one more separation. This is more of an arbitrary separation, okay? And the last, or the posterior part, the dorsal part, the part which is present behind, is your occipital lobe. Clear? So this is how the 4 lobes are made. You have frontal lobe, then there is a central sulcus dividing the frontal lobe and the parietal lobe. There is another arbitrary line, which means there is no sulcus, but you have just divided the lobe into occipital lobe. Clear? So these three. And on the side, on the lateral side, you have a lateral fissure. This is that lateral fissure. And this lateral fissure divides your temporal lobe. So you have these 4 lobes in your cerebral hemisphere. Clear till here? So this is structural parts of your brain. Okay. Now let us discuss the functional areas. After understanding the different structural areas, we shall now study functions. Basically, all the areas in your brain, in your cerebrum, are divided into 3 parts. They can either be sensory area. Sensory area, they receive sensation. Or they could be association area. Association area is the areas where some decision is made, okay, or where your brain is reflecting on the past memories or past experiences and it is making a decision. So this decision is made in your association area. And then comes motor area. Motor area is the area which will give the signal, okay, it is output from where the signals will be sent out to different organs. So the parts of your cerebrum are basically divided into these 3 parts: sensory area, association area, motor area. Clear? Now let us understand by associating the functional areas with the structural area. Clear? Okay, we shall start with the frontal lobe. Frontal lobe is mostly associated with your decision making. Okay, association area. Here all the decision will be made, then all the intelligence comes from the frontal lobe. Clear? Some part of the frontal lobe which is present a little bit before the central sulcus is your motor cortex. Okay, so it is the motor area from where there is somatic motor association area, which means somatic nervous system, you know that it is the nervous system which controls your voluntary actions. Okay, so here this motor cortex before the central sulcus will be taking care of all these voluntary actions. The part after the central sulcus, okay, which is this shaded part of your parietal lobe, is involuntary motor cortex. Okay, so here all the movements will be done involuntarily. Clear? Like your breathing, your heart rate. These are just examples. They are not controlled by this involuntary motor cortex, but just to understand. Clear? Okay. Now on the top you cannot see, but when you remove it, okay, when you move it a little bit, there is an inside this purple area which is known as gustatory cortex. Gustatory cortex, it is a region or it is a part of your sensory area where gustation means your taste, okay, it is recognized. Then you have olfactory cortex or olfactory area where smell is recognized. Fine. So these are all coming under the sensory area. On your temporal lobe, you have a part here which is shown in yellow, which is called primary auditory cortex. These names you need not remember. Just remember that in your temporal lobe, you have an area where you can hear, okay, and you can understand what some person is talking about. This area is also known as Wernicke's area. Okay, it is again a sensory area where you are understanding what the other person is telling you. Beneath that yellow area is this darker yellow area. Okay, this also is doing the same thing, but what it does, it is also called Broca's area. Okay, what does Broca's area do? Broca's area is related with speech. So now you are able to speak. Okay, that speech is related to Broca's area. Clear? Wernicke is for listening to the language and understanding it. Broca's area is for speaking the language. Clear? Fine. Then you have somatic sensory association area in the parietal lobe, which will sense touch, temperature, pressure. Okay, all of those will be sensed, or the messages will be understood in your parietal lobe. Clear? And then finally, this green part is your occipital lobe. Occipital lobe has to do with vision. So in movies or in cartoons, you must have seen, if some villain, okay, he or she hits the hero at the back of the head, then the hero उसके आगे आंखों के आगे तारे घूमने लगते हैं. Why does that happen? Because your occipital lobe is at the back. Okay, तो अगर occipital lobe पे कोई injury आती है, if there is some injury on the occipital lobe, your vision will be affected. Why? Because this occipital lobe is the area where you are able to finally understand what you are seeing. Okay, देखने का काम आंखें करती है, समझने का काम occipital lobe. What you are actually seeing, that will be interpreted in the occipital lobe. Fine. So just let me check the time first. 50 minutes. So let me take some 5 minutes more. Okay. So just once again, this is another diagram showing the same thing in different colors. You have frontal lobe for memory. Okay, I told you it is a memory or intelligence. So intelligence, you can also call it learning and reasoning. Here is the part where whatever you learn, it is stored. Okay, and you are able to use your logic. You are able to use your reasoning. Clear? And Broca's area, which is present around here for speaking. Fine. Then this yellow colored one is your temporal lobe. Temporal lobe on the inner side, it will receive the sense of smell, which we saw here in purple color. Fine. So it will receive sense of smell. Then here it will receive the sense of hearing, which is also known as Wernicke's area. Okay, and this Wernicke's area, it will understand what the other person is saying. It is area which understands language. Okay. Then you have this blue area, which is called parietal lobe. Parietal lobe, it has to do with sensation like pain, touch, temperature, pressure. Okay, and if you look inside, there is a part which is gustatory area. Gustation is sense of taste. Finally, you have this green area called occipital lobe. Occipital lobe, it does the function of visual. Okay, so whatever you are seeing, that those signals will be received by the occipital lobe, and here your brain will make sense of what you see. Okay, so if you are, let us say, looking at a tiger, then your eyes do not understand that it is a tiger. But when the signal reaches your occipital lobe, your brain decides that, oh, it is a tiger. Clear? So all of those functions are done here in the occipital lobe. If somebody hits you here at the back of your head, then you start seeing stars, okay, or you black out. That is because your occipital lobe may be injured. Clear? Fine. So here we end today's lecture. We started with forebrain. Remember this. We have covered two parts of forebrain. The first one being your cerebrum. Okay. Occipital, olfactory lobes, and the second one being your cerebral hemispheres. Yeah. So these two regions we have already discussed, olfactory lobes and cerebrum. The third part of your forebrain we shall begin from tomorrow. Okay, which includes the diencephalon. Then we shall talk about the midbrain and the hindbrain. After talking about the brain, we will move on to spinal cord and then to nerves. Okay, so see you tomorrow.